Hello everybody and welcome to a new breach guide video, and today's video is going to be about Lotus. If this is the first video of mine that you see about breach guides, then you should know that these videos are structured in a way where I'm going to go through every half, so attacker and defense, and I'm going to go through every side and the way I play breach. Now you may ask, like, why would I trust your opinion or anything like that? And I would say you don't need to trust my opinion. What I'm showing you is not a key to success, so to speak. What I'm showing you is just simple ideas that you can take on your own. If you're not doing those ideas, then you can try them out and see if they work within your elo that you play. These ideas work well in almost every elo, but in every game there are modifications that need to happen, and I can't show you what those are. I can show you some of them, but you would need to understand your own game and then come up with those adjustments that you need to make. So these ideas are not a key to success. Valorant is not a static game. However, you can still learn a lot, and you can still try things on your own and come up with your own adjustments to these ideas. And I'm starting this guide on defense, and I'm starting on A, and I believe 90% of your defensive rounds you're playing on A, unless again your game dictates that you do something different. A lot of breach players like to start here to stun A main. However, I don't like that. This is a valid idea and I don't hate it, but I like starting in a different way, and I'll show you later. However, this still is a valid idea, and I'm gonna discuss that later. So you can always stun from here if you need to. The way I start is a bit different, so instead of starting in A link, I like starting here. What I'm doing is I'm lining my stun this way. Sometimes you can do it this way, but the way I like doing it is this way, just to make sure that if a chamber is full running, they cannot dodge my stun. And this happens if you're here and stunning this way, or if you're here and stunning like this. You leave just a little bit of room to allow a chamber player or a jet player or raise player or somebody to dodge your stun and have a chance at shooting back at you, and you don't want that. What I want is I want my raise here with me, and if a third player wants to come push with us, that's fine. If you're playing high elo, you definitely want a third player, but let's say I have my raise with me and that's it. I want my raise to nade this. So as you can see here, if they want to hide here, they're getting naded. If they're not hiding here, then they're stunned. So I'm pressing W and I'm pressing my mouse swipe. As soon as the round starts and the barrier drops, stun like this, I have my Aftershock, and then I have my flash ready. So what happened in this, like a second and a half, stunned this line. Anybody who's pushing is stunned and they have to retreat. Anybody who tries to hide here is getting raise-naded, and anybody who's hiding here behind this is getting aftershocked. And then you're holding your flash and ready for anybody to aggress. So if they re-peek or if they do something, you're ready, you flash and you fight. And if you know that somebody is here and they're not dead because of the raise nade, because raise messed up the nade and naded here instead, and the nade didn't kill them, just damaged them, let's say 60 damage or something. So if you know that somebody is still here, then you can always flash and fight this person. You're not alone fighting again, you're fighting with your teammate, so don't go alone. And the third thing that you need is an omen smoke here. So this way when you're picking this, you're covered from this. And if nobody is here, then you're chilling. You can keep holding your smoke and jump spot. You can silent jump if you need to, just to make sure that nobody knows your exact position. Now from this spot, a lot of the time you want to leave someone. So if they left A, then you're probably leaving your raise here or your omen or somebody, and they're just holding the space and you can run away. Because as a breach or as an initiator, you should always try to be where the enemy is pushing. So if the enemy team decided to go C, you should very likely be here and ready to flash or do something, so you can leave. But if you decided to stay, then I'm staying around this area and I'm jump spotting, making sure that nobody is crossing and everything is fine. Then if I notice that people want to push, then I can always come back here and flash, or I can flash here and fight them. And now for some adjustments that you can make to this play. The first adjustment is you can always start with a flash. So you can flash, then stun. Now the reason why you might want to flash first is just in case they have a chamber or a jet that are trying to dash in here. So if they are trying to dash in here, if a jet or raise, for example, are trying to move to this position very fast, then as they're crossing, they get flashed. They can still look away and not get flashed, but that's one purpose of the flash. Additionally, if you know that they like to do this and satchel in or dash in as a jet or raise, you can always do this. Or you can right away start with a stun like right here in the center and then flash. So as they're dashing or satcheling, they get stunned mid-air, and because of the new update, while they're stunned, their move speed is declined even if they're mid-air. So you can still shoot them and kill them. And the flash here is just to support you because they're stunned here, their teammates are not stunned, so their teammates are running to help them out, but they get flashed, so you get an easy fight on the duelist, and then you can second flash, you can flash here if you need to, and take a fight. Another adjustment that you can make is simply do the same thing as the first play, but instead of aftershocking here, so do this, but instead of aftershocking deep, you flash here. So this play would require you to ask your duelist, for example your raise, to double satchel here. So what you did is you stunned, like always, your omen smoked. Anybody here is stunned and there's a nade as well, but after raise naded, they double satchel here and you flash this spot. So if a jet or raise is satcheling, they're flashed and your jet has an easy fight here to kill the duelist. Even an omen can do that. So if, for example, what you can do is you can have a raise nade, you stun and then you flash, and omen then TPs here and then takes a fight on jet or raise or the enemy duelist in general. This play is basically the best play that you can do on breach on A. You can play passively. This stuff is very easy. You can play from here. You can stun door as soon as they open door, and you can aftershock. You can always stun, then flash, and then fight with your teammates. If you want to stun and flash, you have to always keep in mind, and this is not only on this map and on this side, but you always have to keep in mind that you should not stun as soon as the door opens, because if you stun as soon as the door opens, then you allow the enemy team to run away and you're flashing nobody. What you should do instead is allow them to open the door, position yourself a bit like this, and have your teammate take contact. As soon as they see anybody on the minimap, you stun, then flash. And this way these people here are kind of stuck in here in the open. They're most likely stunned and they're most likely flashed, and you take an easy fight. Then you wait for your teammate to come with you. If you know there are more than one person, then you wait for your teammate to come with you, flash again and take a fight and clear 3. Your teammate can also use util if they have. If it's a raise, for example, raise can nade as you flash. It's always good to layer utility. Never do one piece of util and expect a lot of value from it. If you're playing passively, and let's say you rotated from C or from B, and you're in this position, then again, you have a lot of options here. If you have teammates still on the site, and your teammates are saying like, hey, they're pushing from A main, of course, most of the time you would have a smoke here. So what you can do is say, hey, I'm gonna stun through the smoke. So this way your team knows that you stunned this, and your team can either choose to fight here, to peek here, maybe somebody is running through the smoke and they can fight the person who pushed through the smoke and they're stunned, or your team can choose to fight tree. So instead of dividing their attention tree and main, they know that the enemy team is not able to push you from main, at least for 2 seconds, so they can focus their attention here and retake tree. What you can do in this position, if you know that the enemy team has like multiple people in tree and a few people in main, so you can always say, hey, fight tree, I'm gonna stun A main for you. So you stun A main, And you always as well have to call that you're gonna flash. So you say, hey, I'm gonna flash tree for you, just wait, I'll stun A main first, then I'll flash tree, then fight tree. So stun, then you can do this flash. It's not the best flash, but it's better than nothing. If you wanna do it differently, then you can come onto the side and you can do this stun, for example, then flash for your teammates. Or you can do this stun, then come with your teammates and fight with them. For a retake, let's say you're playing passively or you rotate it from another side. I like this position for breach because here what you can do is you can stun this whole area, and allowing your teammates from here to be able to peek any person who's on top of here. And a lot of players like to play here, like they like to play aggressive, so you stun them. And you also stun any people who have an off angle here, trying to peek into tree, for example, if you have a teammate flanking an opening door. So you can always stun this line. You can also follow it up with an aftershock if you need to. If you don't need to, then no need. But you can follow it up with an aftershock, or you can save your aftershock for the side. You can aftershock under as well. So you kick any player who's holding these off angles. So your teammates up in heaven, they can drop and they can fight anybody who's running away from the aftershock. Or you can simply aftershock behind the box. So you can do this. It also prevents this person here from holding an off angle on you. So if you're running this way, this off angle is closed. So they're not going to be able to play, like, for example, they're not going to be able to hold this spot here. As for flashes, they're all simple. Just basically you just want to flash, make sure that nobody's holding here, and make sure nobody's holding here. If your team has already dropped here and they see no one is here, and then maybe you can flash backside for them. So you can do this flash, then this flash, and your teammates from drop can peek. Or if you know that the enemy team, if you know that there's only one player here, for example, then you can kill him with your teammate. And then if you know the rest of the enemy team is holding tree, then it's way simpler. You can always stun if you have a stun. If you have a flash, you can always flash and fight. If you have an aftershock, you can always create more chaos. You know, you create a lot of chaos as a breach, and you can take a fight with your team. And now on to the B side. And I'll come back to this idea that I showed you at the beginning of the video. And I think this is a good idea if you have different objectives. So let's say you want to fake a push as a defender. So you want to fake the enemy. You want to tell the enemy that we're taking A. But instead you're actually B, and you only have a raise here. And that's a valid idea depending on your own game. Maybe you need to call that, and I think it's a good call. So you can say, hey, raise play here, maybe with Omen as well. Omen smoke, Omen TP, raise nade, I will stun. Okay, so what you do is you signal to the enemy that we're taking A main. They saw you do the same setup, and you've taken A main and they couldn't stop you. Okay, if they could stop you, then it's a different question. Then you need to adjust your push. But if they couldn't stop you, then they're not going to try. So let's say that they know that they're not going to be able to win the fight and they run away. So maybe they come back B. And you have a call that they're going to come B after you fake this A push. So you fake it and run B main. And from this spot, as a breach, I'm sitting here with my flash out. So if I'm making that call that I just showed you, I have two options. One is I call for one more teammate to play B with me. And they'd have contact from here. And as soon as they see someone, I can flash. I would probably flash here, to be honest. This flash is not good if you know that this area is clear. And if you have a teammate who's watching like this pixel angle, right? So your teammate is sitting exactly there, and they see like their shoulder as they peek. They see the enemy team's shoulder as they peek, right? So it's like, so your teammate is like holding this tiny pixel. Their whole job is not to win a fight. They can actually get a headshot here, and it's not a wall bang, and they can win a fight. Their job is to give you information. So this flash is better because the enemy team, let's say the enemy team is wide swinging and they see a shoulder here. They're not going to be able to fight. They're not going to be able to take a kill, even if they just peek like a pixel, if they jiggle peek this. So they still see somebody, so their attention is focused on this somebody. As soon as they see that somebody and they think, oh, I need to kill that person, or I need to take that fight, or anything like that, they get flashed. Right, so as soon as you see somebody on the minimap, flash, and then take a fight. If you hear them full running, then that's a different conversation. Then you say, hey, I hear them running B. So your teammate can take a different angle. Maybe your teammate can come with you, can play here, an off angle here. And as soon as your teammate sees them full running here, then you can do this flash and fight them here. The second option is, let's say I stunned for my teammates and we fake a push. After that, I'm coming here. If I don't hear them running, then I'm walking in. I'm taking space. I can either just peek on my own without info and try to take space, or if I have a read, if I suspect that they have a Cypher lurk, a Killjoy lurk, or anybody who's lurking, then I can just flash here and take a fight. I wouldn't. What I just did is a bit stupid because this is a wide swing and maybe there are 4 people here. That's not great. So what you can do is make sure that you clear your angles properly, and this is an angle that often is left forgotten. The only reason I'm not clearing this is because I flashed. Because anybody who's here and gets flashed, even half flashed, they're gonna drop from this box. They're not gonna stay on top of the box. And now for a B push. As a breach, you would always want to do this. You're not the head of the spear on B pushes. So what you can do is you can wait, I don't know, 3 seconds, 4 seconds and then stun, or you can wait for noise and stun, or you can wait for information and stun. If you have a jet here or chamber taking contact and having an off angle, then you can play off of that as well. Anyways, you stun this. I like to follow it with an aftershock, then flash. Then me and my teammates are pushing, so nobody can be hiding here. Anybody who's here is flashed. Anybody who's playing from far behind is also flashed. Anybody who's on top of the box is flashed. The only person who's not flashed is this person here. They're likely stunned, but the stun effect has probably worn off, so they can still peek you, so you need to be aware of that. If you're playing passively, you can play from anywhere on the site. The ideas are all the same. Basically, if you know that they're rushing, your main job is as soon as they use util or as soon as you hear jet dashes or raise satchels or something, then the only thing you want to do is stun, separate the duelist from the team. You should have the smoke for sure at this point. So after you stun, you aftershock. So even the enemies that were not stunned, they're not going to be able to push because they will die. So you separated the duelist. You and your teammates killed the enemy duelist, and this is smoked. So what is the enemy team gonna do? They want to continue to push. That's fine. We have more numbers now because my teammates have rotated just to make sure that they're not going to be able to execute, and we're fine. We're chilling. I can also hold my flash up right here. You can always have your flash out, flash. Maybe you can flash as soon as the smoke drops. Let's say the enemy team stopped making any noises. So as soon as the smoke drops, I'm flashing just to make sure they're not trying to do some sort of a sneaky play and retake beam. The same ideas, like I said, from anywhere on the site. You can do the same thing. Or from here. From here you have the advantage of additionally flashing, as well as from here. For B retake, you can play anywhere. Honestly, it wouldn't make much of a difference. From C, it's always good to be here and stun this line. So you can always stun this line, stun anybody who's playing on top of the box, stun anybody who's playing these angles. So your teammates who are retaking from B upper, they have more freedom to clear these angles. Your teammates who are clearing from here, they have more freedom not to worry about anybody who's holding an off angle, so they can focus here. What you can do is, after you do this, is you can aftershock. This is a good aftershock just to make sure if anybody is here and they're stunned and they're trying to run away, they get aftershock, and you can always flash. The flashes are good basically anywhere. They get the whole site. If you know that the site is clear, you suspect somebody to be playing here, you can always keep a flash for this. If you know that the whole site is clear, you can always flash you know, on retakes, I like to be aggressive. So let's say my teammate, my spike is planted here, and my teammate just tapped the spike. I don't want to allow the enemy team to be able to spam my teammates. So I'm always flashing. I can always just flash and sit. I don't have to push, or I can flash and push. And this way you bought time for your teammate to full defuse, and I think you win those 90% of the time. It depends on the full setup, obviously, how many players you have on the side and so on. If you have people pushing with you and all that different stuff. So these are variables I cannot control. It's gonna depend on your game. If it's only me and my teammate, I'm not pushing. I'm just delaying. As my teammate is defusing, I'm flashing. If I have a stun, it's even better. And I can spam them back. And now for playing C. Honestly, I probably have like, I don't know, maybe 20 hours playing C on defense as a breach. It's not a great position. I think taking A main is way more valuable every single round. If you can take A main on defense on Lotus, you have to take it. It's really valuable. So C is not really the best option, but you can always play C if you need to. So you can always stun this. If you have a chamber trying to take an off angle or a jet, you can always stun and help them take this angle. Of course, you have to keep in mind if you stun that the enemy team expects you to be here. But you can always do that. You can always do this, then flash for your jet, then second flash behind your jet and fight with your jet. That's always an option. Let's say your jet has knives and they updrafted dashed here. You flash twice for them, you have them out. You can always play off of information and you can stun these deep lines and then flash and take a fight with your team. Or you can stun and then aftershock this just so that nobody can be hiding here, and then as soon as they peek you take a fight. You can have a teammate there and you can play there and you have a very favorable fight. If you're playing passively, then this is a good position. I wouldn't play directly behind the boxes because most players like to spam these boxes as soon as they arrive around this area. So I don't want to risk losing some health or dying to potential spam, so I don't want that to happen. I assume that my Omen or my Astra or somebody is gonna smoke this if I call that there are a lot of noises on C mount. So what I can do is as soon as they stop spamming, then I can position myself around this area, and as soon as they make any noise or they start pushing, then I stun. If the jet dashed in, then I expect the jet to be stunned here. If the jet dashed in here, then I would ideally not play alone here, because if jet dashes here or raise satchels here, then you're dead. So I would want one more teammate with me holding from here or from here or something that can help me out. But anyways, so you can stun this and fight, or you can always not stun, just flash and fight, or you can do both, stun, flash, then fight. If you were playing A or B and you're coming back to C to support your team, or just playing retake, so you can always, if the enemy team has not planted, so you can always stun, then aftershock. So you can cover this whole area depending on where you hear the plant. So if you know that the enemy team likes to plant here and play from mount, so you can always aftershock this and force the enemy team off the plant. If they continue to plant, then the planter is gonna die, which is good for you. If the enemy team stops planting, then you can start flooding as a team. Maybe you have an ult, so you can always ult. Maybe you don't even need the aftershock for that, and that's a judgment call. So you call that depending on the information that you have. Or you can just simply keep your stun for this. You would want to stun from up here because this gets the whole line. So you can stun this as your teammates are flooding, and they can clear this area and they can clear water. You can stun, flash, then second flash, or flash here if you know the site is clear. Flash here. This flash gets people who are aiming here, and then you can follow it up with another flash. And I would say that's it about defense. Of course, I didn't cover every single position because they're all the same, just different position. You just need to find which position can I find value from as a breach. This position you can find value from you can basically find value from any position as a breach. This is a good stun line. This is a good stun line if they're just planting the spike. This is a good stun line if they're flooding the site, if the enemy team is just taking the site. So I've gotten a lot of value from this. You can always stun. Then Aftershock, then the duelist who rushed in is isolated. It's great value for you as a breach. Or if they have a gecko, and you know the gecko likes to ult from here, you can always stun, then Aftershock the gecko, so the gecko is not going to be able to find value from their ult. Now that I've finished talking about C defense, let me start with C attack. So basically, your main job as a breach on C attack is to kick the upper off this angle. And you have to imagine there's an upper every round that the enemy team has enough money to buy an op. And even if they don't have money for an op and they have a chamber, for example, you have to always imagine the chamber playing here, maybe here, or here. And chamber has a mini op with his headhunter, basically one tap, one kill if they hit you with a headshot. So your main job is to kick any aggressive player from this angle. And the way you can do it is a few ways, basically. So there's always this flash here. There's this flash here, and there's this fault line here, or stun, or there is this stun from here. Everyone has a different idea, so let me go through them one by one. This flash or this flash have the same idea, basically. So you're peeking with your team as soon as you flash. The stun here is so that your teammates are peeking, and the stun gets anybody who's trying to play here or here, but it doesn't get people here. So you have to warn your teammates about this area. And the last idea is to stun from here, and this allows you to lurk as a breach. So you're not really lurking, so maybe your team calls, or maybe you even call that let's play slow and let's take contact on C, and let's have one person B, one person A. So it can be that B person, and instead of stunning and pushing with your team, you stun this and then lurk B. But let's say you just pushed C main with your teammates, then if I know they have a killjoy, after shocking this to kill the turret. A lot of killjoys put their turrets here, so I do this just to make sure there's no turret. If I'm playing against a killjoy as well, I might also do this Aftershock instead, just to make sure there's no nades here. So if there's a nade here, it gets destroyed. It helps my teammates scale a bit better than my teammates have to destroy the turret. It's not that big a deal. So it's always a call. You can discuss that with your team. Say, hey, I can destroy the nade here, or I can destroy the turret. What do you want? If you're playing against a Cypher and the Cypher is tripping here or here, then this is also good. You can also break the trips. You can do this stun. So if there's a trip here, it gets destroyed. If there's a trip on these, it gets destroyed as well. You can also trip a bit deeper, or Aftershocks are a bit deeper. So if there's a trip on here to this box, you can also destroy that trip. Right, if there's a trip here, I guess, or a trip here even, it gets destroyed. I like doing this to destroy trips. You can do it to accomplish other results. You can always save your Aftershock or when you're executing with your team. So you can Aftershock this line and make sure nobody's holding an off angle here. So you can do this, then flash, then second flash. You can also Aftershock behind this box, then flash, then second flash. You can Aftershock behind the box, flash, then flash. For B pushes, a good play can be is if I know that the enemy team likes to play aggressively here and they like to take space, then I have my Raze or Jet or somebody to satchel in as soon as the round starts. So they dive in to take this fight very quickly. And as soon as the round starts, I'm stunning this line. So my duelist has a good chance, if there's somebody here who's stuck in here, they can't move fast enough to run away, my duelist has a good chance of killing them. So it's always a good option. And after that, you just come in. B is fairly easy. I like Aftershocking this, just to cut off this angle from the rest of the site. Then, you know, flash, and then second flash, clear this, clear everything, you're good. You can always Aftershock in this instead, just to cut off this angle from the rest of the site. Or you can Aftershock here, And this gets anybody who's standing on top of this platform or anybody who's trying to run in. And now on to A. And this is the most complex site for breach to hit because there are a lot of different ideas. But the number one idea is taking A main space at the first place, right? So a lot of the time I like to start with this flash. So you flash here and you scale with your teammates. You can also always start with a stun if you know that the enemy team is pushing or likes to push. So you can always stun this line. And then flash behind your teammates. So your teammates are running in like this. Anybody here is stunned, and as they're fighting, you flash behind them. So they get half flashed, and anybody who's fighting gets full flash. What you can additionally do is, let's say you flashed here. You can also stun this. And then Aftershock, if you know that the enemy team likes to play here, like to play these angles, so you help your teammates clear this a lot easier than if you didn't stun an Aftershock. So let's say you've taken this space and you just flashed one time and the enemy team is not fighting. So you have one more flash and you have an Aftershock, you have a stun. So you can always stun this line. You can stun this line. This is probably smoke, so you can stun this before your teammates scale. So I mean, the better line is to get this box. So anybody who's hiding here, a lot of people like to play here, especially if the enemy team is on an eco round. So you probably should expect a shotgun around this angle. So you can do a stun like this, and it gets anybody who's playing aggressively or anybody who's playing with a shotgun around this angle. So this is a stun, a valid stun. This is a valid stun. It gets anybody who's picking these. It gets people in heaven as well. This is a valid stun. It gets anybody who's playing an off angle. This is a valid stun. This is better if you do it from here, obviously. So this stun is if your teammates are opening door and they're pushing tree. So you stun the player who's hiding here. A lot of the time, or not a lot, but sometimes some player thinks that they're gonna hide here and get away with it. So you can stun this, or you can just simply stun this. You can also, a fair amount of time, some player likes to play aggressively in here. Let's say they have a Reyna. Reyna might play here on an off angle and then get a kill and dismiss away. So let's say you stun, then if you know that there are a lot of people in A, then you can flash. This is a good flash because it basically lands here. I guess anybody who's playing any of these angles, anybody who can see this is flashed. Even people here, or even people in heaven. If you happen to have both flashes, let's say the enemy team gave you this whole A main space for free, then you can flash here and then flash here, or flash here and then flash here and clear back. If you happen to have your Aftershock, this is always good. Aftershock in this angle, so nobody can hide here, and they have to peek, and then you get a kill, or you fight them basically. And you can do this even if you push 3 with your teammates. If you push 3 with your teammates, if you didn't stun before, then the same or similar stuns you can do. Do this, do this. If you have a second flash, do this, and you're good. You can also Aftershock this like I showed you. With that said, I think these ideas are enough for one video. Of course, there are a lot of different things that I didn't show you. They're just common sense. You can find them in your own game. You can realize that the enemy team likes to do X instead of Y, so you can adjust, right? And this becomes your own alteration or your own adjustment to the play itself, right? So if the play itself is valid, then the only thing you need to think about is how do I make it fit within my own play style and within my own team's play style and within how the enemy reacts to what I do. If I do the same thing 12 rounds in a row, then I should expect the enemy team to adjust on rounds 13, right? So it's always up to you how to modify it, how to change it, and I think you have so much freedom as a breach player to do a lot of different things, to be a team support, to be your own selfish player, an ego peaker, and you can accomplish a lot of great results playing breach on Lotus. If you liked any of those ideas, if you think any of them are helpful to you in your own games, please let me know. Please let me know if you did this in the past and what adjustments you had to do to make them fit within your own elo or within your own games. I would be grateful to hear back from you, and I would be actually genuinely interested in figuring out different play styles and how you play Breach as your own different play style. So if you liked the video, please hit like. If you disliked it, please hit dislike and leave a comment down below of what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.